Next, today, thousands of adults have turned to weight loss injections in their battle with obesity.
Yeah, and while a relatively new drug is available to kids, would you feel comfortable giving it to yours?
Well, that's exactly what Ashley Hamilton did with her then 11-year-old daughter, Sophia. They join us now from their home in Idaho in the United States. Good morning to both of you.
Morning, you two.
Morning.
Oh, morning, Ashley. Now, let's talk to you first, because obviously you struggled with your weight growing up. Tell us a little bit about your battle with weight.
I was 12 and my dad took a photo of me at a swim meet, and I didn't know that anything was different about me until I saw that picture. And the weight just I just looked different than the other girls on the swim team. And then it just kept piling on, and there was always an excuse from doctors as to why I was gaining weight, whether it was having like a bout of depression when I was younger from losing my aunt. It was always an excuse, but nobody ever took blood work and nobody ever figured it out until I took it into my own hands at 36 and a half.
And so then you went on the weight loss injections. Did life improve like pretty much straight away?
Yeah, drastically. I used to wake up in immense amounts of pain when I got out of bed from getting in a rollover accident when I was 18, and my whole body would hurt, my hands would hurt. They would be like this in the mornings. It took me forever to get out of bed. And within literally a week of me taking my first injection, I got out of bed, and I remember it happening because I just got out and all of a sudden I just realized like I wasn't in pain.
Sure.
Yeah, and they call it the food noise as well. Did that disappear from you as well?
The first day. I remember the very first day that I took it. I was sitting at my desk. I work from home, and so I was sitting at my desk, and it was 3:30 in the afternoon, and I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't eaten anything all day, because I didn't think I was going to have to remind myself, because that had never been a problem.
Yeah. And Sophia, good morning, my sweetheart. Now, listen, you was getting upset as well, a little bit similar to your mom. You had issues with regards to weight. Tell me a little bit about some of those feelings that you were going through.
I had started to gain weight in about like second grade, and kids were bullying me at school, and then it started to send me into a depression in second grade. And then I had to and then later on I gained a ton of more weight, and then I lost a tiny bit on my own.
Yeah.
And then I ended up gaining a lot more weight before school again. And then I saw my mom and all of this, and I was like, I want to do that. And so I had a conversation with her.
How did that make you feel?
Which part?
Like the bullying and stuff?
The bullying was definitely not ideal at all.
Yeah.
It was like just very, very hard to deal with, because I was like, I used to think I was pretty, and now I can't even look at myself in the mirror without like hating myself.
Ashley, it's important to stress here, because people probably see a headline, but actually, you know, you have always instilled exercise, you've always instilled a good diet, and it was just very, very difficult to keep the weight off. So how hard was it for you to make that decision for Sophia to take the weight loss jabs?
It wasn't hard at all. When she came to me and asked if this would work for her, I told her yes, but we have to get your blood work done or your labs done to make sure that there is like an underlying problem, because if there was nothing showing right, then that is something that we would have said, okay, this is diet and exercise type of thing. But it wasn't hard at all for me to decide that. I had done enough research that in general on these medications that I knew that if she needed it, that this was what we were going to do.
Yeah.
So, Sophia, you actually started taking the jabs, and what did you notice straight away about how you was going about eating and things like that?
I noticed that like my mom had to like remind me constantly. She was like, you haven't eaten yet. You should probably eat. And then and then I started to lose weight, and then I started to like realize that like I actually had a lot of inflammation in my face and like in my arms and in my hands and all of that because I used to wear like certain sizes and rings that were like pretty high for my age. And now I can like wear normal sizes for my age and rings, and I never got to experience that before.
Okay.
Let's bring in Dr Zoe. Thank you, you two. We'll back to you in just a sec. Rules are very different in the UK to the US, but the one thing that I picked up there is you have to remember to eat the things that are good for you, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you imagine your appetite is vastly reduced, it can be very tempting to just eat the things that you might like, you know, pizzas or fast food.
Or just not eat at all.
Or just not eat at all. And especially, obviously, for children, children are still growing, they're still developing, especially at this age as well, going through puberty. So hormones are very important. So it's incredibly important that children who are taking these weight loss injections are supported by a dietitian nutritionist, because they've got to be getting in the right amount of protein, all the essential vitamins and nutrients, and likely might need supplements as well. So really important. I mean, here in the UK, there is one type of weight loss injection which is licensed for children aged 12 to 18, both for type 2 diabetes and for obesity. It's very rare it's used. You know, it can be prescribed by a paediatric endocrinologist or by what we call a tier 3 weight management service. But it is rare, but there are lots of interesting studies and trials going on at the moment where they're looking at Wegovy, which is what Sophia took, and they're even being trialled in children that are younger as well, children aged 6 to 12, and then separately children aged 12 up to 18 years old. And I know that there's a lot of scepticism about it, and there's a lot of stigma with anything that's related to weight, which we need to get rid of. But it is incredibly important that we are monitoring these children and looking at what potentially the longer-term implications are. For children, there's the same list of side effects as there can be for adults, but we also need to consider that their bodies are still growing and developing, and could there be any further? But I think the thing to consider, you know, Sophia's a perfect example of this. Sophia already had insulin resistance, and her blood work was showing that she had pre-diabetes. What you always have to consider is the risks and potential risks of a medication, but weigh that against the risks and potential risks of doing nothing.
Right.
When you've tried all the sensible things, the exercise, the changes to eating, the psychological approach, for some people, like Sophia and her mum, it's just a genetic thing. Your genetics predispose you to having problems with your weight. And then we live in the environment that we live in. There's this phrase that genetics load the gun and environment pulls the trigger. And if you have a certain set of genes, even if you try your hardest with all the lifestyle, it can be practically impossible to maintain a healthy weight. So, you know, it's tricky, it's complicated, there are extra considerations with children, but in Sophia's case, it seems it's been really helpful for her.
Yeah, well, you both look incredible. You absolutely look incredible. Just out of interest, did you have any side effects at all?
I have had minimal side effects. It just kind of depends on like the dose and stuff like that. But for the most part, it hasn't been bad at all.
What about backlash from anybody else? Has anyone had anything to say to you or tried to put you down for doing what you did?
Oh, it's kind of crazy because a lot of people deal with a lot more backlash on social media from people. But for me, it's actually been more in my real life, dealing with people that I can tell are judging me. But it doesn't bother me. It's a way for me to like educate more people on what the reason is that I started.
Sophia, just out of interest, are you still doing the injections now?
No.
So you're not doing, but you're not. You look great. Have you maintained your weight as well?
I was for a while after I got off of it, but then I started to gain a little bit of weight, which is normal if you still have a metabolic issue in your body.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, both of you, for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Just last words for you. What if people are looking at this and they've got kids that are obese? What would be your advice?
Well, I think this isn't something that's going to be rolled out in the UK anytime soon, with good reason. It's still experimental. Actually, 22% of children aged 10 to 11 are leaving primary school with obesity. Wow. It's a big problem. We need to get rid of blame, you know, we need to say it's not about willpower.
Nah.
There's bigger issues going on here. So I think it's great that these are being trialled, but for the time being, what we need is, one, services that are set up to support children with obesity in a holistic way, but also, added to that, we need to treat the cause. We need to look at the environment we're growing up in. If you were born 100 years ago, it was almost impossible to develop obesity because of the environment. That environment's changed now to a point where 1 in 3 adults will have obesity. We need to change the environment. That's ultimately the cause, that for some people, they're more predisposed because of their genetics.
So would you say it's more about prevention rather than cure?
Absolutely. It's got to be about both, but we need to put a huge emphasis on prevention.
OK.
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to say thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. Now, listen, we upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And we'll see you in the morning.